The game of baseball is continually evolving, and with each passing year, there are moments that become part of MLB history, never to be replicated again. Among these, few are as iconic as Game 163, an event that occurred just 12 times in its entire existence. So, to commemorate it, let's revisit the most memorable installment between the Colorado Rockies and San Diego Padres on October 1st, 2007. If you witnessed it live, then this will be a nice refresher, but if you're maybe a little bit younger or got into baseball at a later date, I'm happy to introduce to you this instant classic. Heading into the 2007 season, the Rockies and Padres had extremely different expectations. On one side, San Diego had enjoyed back-to-back playoff appearances in 05 and 06, with exciting players like Jake Peavy, who boasted a combined 3.13 ERA and 3.18 FIP in the 3 seasons prior, and on the offensive side, Adrian Gonzalez had broken out with 24 home runs, 82 RBIs, and an 862 OPS in his first full big league season. They look poised to win their third consecutive NL West crown, or at the very least make the playoffs as the wild card team. But as for the Rockies, not much was expected of them as they'd struggled mightily in the 5 years prior, with 0 winning seasons and placing just 25th in the entire league for wins during this span. But that's not to say they didn't have the talent. Offensively, Todd Helton was one of the most feared hitters in all of baseball, with a 153 OPS plus from 2000 to 2006. And Matt Holliday had just broken out, becoming just one of 2 outfielders in 2006 to post at least 30 home runs, 110 RBIs, and score 115 runs. These two look primed to be the most productive players on the team, but they also had a couple other intriguing names, both of whom were rookies in 2007. The first being Troy Tulowitzki, the guy who became one of the best shortstops in the game in the early 2010s, and he finished his career as one of the best defensive shortstops to ever step foot on a major league diamond. And the other, Ubaldo Jimenez, who although didn't have as much career success in the bigs, he still had one of the most memorable pitching seasons in Rockies history in 2010, finishing as the third place finisher in the Cy Young Award. All in all, these 4 guys helped the Rockies hold a winning record throughout the majority of the season, and on September 15th, they were on the verge of having their best record in recent memory as they stood 76 and 72. But despite this, they were nowhere close in the playoff picture as the Mets, Cubs, and D-backs led the divisions, and the wildcard race was primarily between the Padres, who were the current holders, with the Phillies and Dodgers just 1.5 games behind, and the Rockies all the way back at 4.5. It seemed very unlikely they would find a way back into the playoff discussion with just 14 games left in the season, but this is when they kick things into overdrive. From September 16th till the end of the season, only the New York Yankees scored more runs than the Rockies as the club boasted big wins, like their 13-0 victory over the at the time Florida Marlins on September 16th, or their 11-1 triumph over their division rivals, the Arizona Diamondbacks. These bats seemed to get hot at the right time, and to go perfectly with them, so too did the pitching, as their staff had the lowest ERA in all of baseball, being the only club below 3 in these 14 games. In total, these combined efforts from both departments helped lift the Rockies to a 13-1 record during this span, becoming the only team in baseball in 2007 to win 13 of 14 during any stretch in the regular season. It was a remarkable turnaround from the club, who looked completely out of it towards the end of the season, and with the Dodgers going 3-11 down the stretch, as well as the Mets, who lost their division lead to the Phillies by losing 6 of their final 7, the Rockies found themselves soaring through the standings in the final couple of weeks, and in the end they tied with the San Diego Padres at 89 and 73. Therefore, an extra game was needed, and the two found themselves playing just the 7th Game 163 in MLB history at Coors Field on October 1st, 2007. Game 163 brought much hope for both franchises. The Padres, after failing to advance past the divisional round each of the previous 2 seasons, would get another chance to finally make a deep run into the postseason. And as for the Rockies, they were coming off a 9-year window where they never once finished above 4th place in the division. Winning Game 163 would help reignite the fan base in Colorado, and in turn give the owners all the more reason for them to continue to field a competing team. And they looked to achieve this with Josh Fogg on the mound. The success he found against great teams lined him up perfectly for this matchup, and he was facing a Padres lineup that was underwhelming to say the least in 2007, ranking just 20th in all of baseball at 4.5 runs per game. And in the first inning, he made quick work with them, only allowing 1 base runner off a bloop single into shallow right field before striking out the Padres' best bat in Adrian Gonzalez on the 6th pitch of their hard-fought battle to end the inning, giving the Rockies bats their first opportunity of the game up against ace Jake Peavy. In 2007, Peavy was as dominant as any pitcher in baseball and was on his way to winning the NL pitching triple crown with 19 wins, a 2.36 ERA, and 234 strikeouts. He was also in the midst of a 13-game stretch stretch where he posted 12 quality starts. That's why entering the game, most presumed the only way the Rockies could win would be in a low-scoring affair, but their bats were hot right out of the gate. In the bottom of the first inning with Kaz Matsui up at the plate, he sent PV's 2-1 offering through the infield and directly into no man's land in the outfield, allowing him to take second base with Troy Tulowitzki due up next. In his first full big league season, he was one of the most important players on the team, leading everyone in WAR with 6.8 and moved up from 7th in the lineup all the way to the 2 spot in early September, where he exploded with the bat with 20 runs scored, 5 homers, and 18 RBIs in the final 21 games. And he stayed hot, sending a ground ball on the 5th pitch he saw past PV to Khalil Green at shortstop, and while he was able to stop the ball from entering the outfield, he had no play at first, giving the Rockies men on the corner with nobody out and Matt Holliday due up. 2007 was a continuation of his breakout season the year prior, leading the team in runs scored, home runs, RBIs, and OPS among others. He was the right guy to have up in this situation, and because of this, PV rightly opted to pitch on the corners, but missed ever so slightly on the first pitch of the at-bat, and the third putting him in the hole. And with Holliday's great stats on 3-0 counts, everyone knew he had the 3-0 green light, but he fouled the pitch back into the stands. And on the very next pitch, he took his walk to load the bases, passing the baton to Mr. Rocky Todd Helton. At this point, everyone knew the Rockies would be putting runs on the board. The only unknown was the extent of their scoring, because even though PV hadn't quite found his rhythm early in the game, his reputation as the top pitcher in baseball suggested he could swiftly regain control. That's why everyone in the stadium jumped to their feet when Helton made contact on this pitch.
After the 0-1, drives it to center field. Brady Clark backing up. Makes the catch shy of the track, plenty deep enough for everybody to tag and try to move up.
Unfortunately for Rockies fans, he wasn't able to guide the ball into the stands as he hit it to the deepest part of the ballpark. But with Matsui tagging from third, they opened the scoring 1-0 and were still threatening, with the other 2 runners also advancing 90 feet, bringing up Garrett Atkins. In 2007, Atkins was one of the unsung heroes of this squad, especially during the club's final 14 games of the season, hitting 3 homers and knocking in 8 with a .400 batting average. He looked to stay hot, and with 2 strikes, PV was not able to finish off the at-bat as Atkins sent the ball over the shortstop's head to score Tulo from third and advancing Holliday 90 feet. That run turned out to be the inning's last, as PV managed to retire both Hop and Spielborgs for the final 2 outs. However, the damage was already done, with the Rockies now holding a 2-0 lead, and PV's pitch count already reaching 25 after the opening frame. It was certainly not the start anyone affiliated with the Padres had hoped for. And in the following inning, things continued to go downhill as once again Josh Fogg allowed 1 base runner off a single to left field, but didn't let him advance. And in the bottom half, the Rockies extended their lead thanks to a solo shot off the bat of Yorvi Torrealba. At this point, it was clear PV was not on his game, and if a pitcher isn't going to pitch well, then at the very least he has to do something to help his team, right? Well, he did just that in the 3rd inning when he did his best Vladimir Guerrero Sr. impression, sending a ball way out of the zone up the middle past a diving attempt by Tulo. This was PV's 17th hit of the season and was easily the most impactful, as it seemed to kickstart the Padres offense, with the next batter Brian Giles working a walk on a hard-fought 7-pitch battle, and then Scott Hairston reaching on a bloop single into shallow right field, loading the bases with nobody out and Kevin Kuzmanov due up next. Kuzmanov was in a prime position to knock in the first run of the game for the Padres. All he had to do was put the ball in play, and he did just that, sending a fly ball to shallow left field, a depth that could potentially score a runner from third. But with nobody out and PV the man who would be tagging, he did not want to test the arm of Holliday in left. This ended up being a mistake, as Holliday was ready to concede the run and made up his mind to throw to third base rather than home before he saw PV staying put. Mistakes like these can prove costly, especially in a winner-take-all matchup, and gave Fogg the opportunity to escape the bases-loaded no-out jam with a timely ground ball by Adrian Gonzalez. But instead, he sent his 30th homer and 100th RBI of the season over the fence in right field. This swing of the bat absolutely killed the Rockies' momentum they had built in the first 2 innings, and the Padres weren't done as they loaded the bases once again, this time scoring off a weakly hit ground ball to the shortstop, with the throw not reaching Helton at first in time. But if we replay this, the inning could have been over in today's game, as Jeff Blum completely overslid second base, obstructing Matsui, which resulted in his throw being soft. And this wasn't the last instance of a play that might not have stood in today's game. Moving on, in the bottom half of the inning, PV was pitching with a lead for the first time in the game, and the noise around Coors Field was as quiet as it had been all day.
That's why when Todd Helton sent this ball into the stands in deep right field, it was not only crucial for the Rockies to get back into the game, now trailing by just 1 run, but also because it helped bring the fans back into the game, and that's the biggest advantage you have when playing at home. Over the next few innings, the Rockies continued to chip away at the Padres' lead. In the bottom of the 5th, following a double off the bat of Troy Tulowitzki, Matt Holliday knocked him in with a single to center field to tie the game, and in the following inning, Matsui took the Rockies' lead back with a sac fly to score Seth Smith from third. At this point, the Rockies seemed like they would not be giving the lead back, as their pitchers had finally found a groove in the game. Since the Padres' big 5-run inning in the 3rd, they only managed 3 base runners as a culmination of Josh Fogg, Taylor Buckles, Jeremy Affeldt, Ryan Spire, and LaTroy Hawkins had for the most part shut them down. But everything changed when Brian Fuentes entered the game in the 8th inning.
Well, Jeff Plum leads it off and promptly lines one into right center field. Swings and misses as the runner at first occupies the mound. As he lifts it to left, but at Holliday, who misplays it, goes back and can't make the catch. He started in. Blum will score, and the Padres will tie the game 6-6.
Before this at-bat, Giles only had 3 hits in 24 at-bats against Fuentes, but he was able to get the best of him this time with a little help from Matt Holliday. If you watch closely, you can see his first few steps were in and resulted in him being just out of reach of the ball when he finally picked up on the trajectory, allowing the tying run to score. This was the final run scored in the opening 9 frames, meaning just like their regular season standings, they needed more baseball to decide who would move on. Isn't that fitting? The first few innings of extras proved to be anticlimactic, with both teams having the opportunity to bat with a runner in scoring position, but neither of them took the opportunity. That was until Jorge Julio entered the game in the top of the 13th. Julio was once a reliable closer in his first few seasons with the Baltimore Orioles, but his lack of command ultimately shot him out of the role. And while he was effective in 2007 with the Rockies with a 1.23 ERA+, his command was still an issue, walking 20 batters during these outings. Something the first man do-up Ryan Giles looked to exploit, as he had one of the game's best walk rates. In fact, in every season he started at least 120 games in, he never once had more strikeouts per walk, and he even led the league during the 2005 season with 119. His eye was one not worth testing, but Julio still made it easy for him as he allowed the free pass on 5 pitches, with all 4 balls not being close to the strike zone. This was the 3rd inning in a row the Padres had the leadoff man on, and with the 2 through 4 hitters due up, they were looking to finally make use of their good position, with Scott Hairston due up next. To start the 2007 season, Hairston was actually a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. It wasn't until July 27th when he was acquired to provide extra depth in the outfield, and pretty much just that. In his first 14 appearances with the club, he never stayed in the lineup for a complete game. But after solid performances such as his 2-for-4 night with a homer against the San Francisco Giants on September 14th, his name became a regular in the lineup, and heading into game 163, he had nice totals in San Diego with an almost 1,000 OPS, 17 RBIs, and 7 homers. He was finally tapping into his power potential.
Hairston swinging away, sends it out towards deep left field. Back goes Matt Holliday. That ball is up and that ball is gone.
Honestly, the funniest part about this homer was the fact that the announcer was talking about Hairston bunting before the at-bat.
Good bunter in Hairston.
And after the first pitch.
No reason to try and bunt if he can't throw a strike.
But instead, he sent Julio's 1-0 offering into the stands in left center to put the Padres back in the lead for the first time since Jake Peavy was still pitching all the way back in the 5th inning, giving the perfect opportunity in the bottom of the 13th, up 2 runs to their future Hall of Fame closer, Trevor Hoffman. Hoffman had one of the most illustrious careers for a closer in MLB history, as he finished his career with 601 saves, second all-time to Mariano Rivera. And even though the 2007 season was his age 39 campaign, he once again posted great totals with a 2.53 ERA in 60 appearances. But he wasn't getting the job done in the same way, with his 6.9 strikeouts per 9 being a steady decrease from the years prior. And towards the end of the season, he looked largely ineffective, posting an ugly 5.54 ERA in August and 4.32 in September. But he was still Trevor Hoffman, pitching with a 2-run lead in a safe situation, and it was a great test for the Rockies' resilience.
Matsui out towards right center field. That's going to get down into the gap to the track of the wall. Tulowitzki towards the gap in left center field. That's going to get down. Matsui scores easily. Tulowitzki to second, and he is just in. field. Giles headed back. Giles at the track. He jumps and is unable to make the catch. Around from second base comes Tulowitzki. He will tie the score at 8 as to third goes Holiday with a triple. It'll be Jamie Carroll who'll be coming up to right field. Giles is there to make the catch. Tagging is Holiday. The throw to the plate. He is safe. The Colorado Rockies are the National League wild card winners.
Was he safe or was he out? On first glance, it's hard to see whether or not Holiday actually touched home plate, and the umpire waited a good 3 seconds before showing the safe call, making everyone think maybe he didn't. And once he did ultimately call him safe, this play sparked controversy everywhere, and rightly so, because when looking at other angles, it kind of looks like he didn't touch the plate.
But regardless of whether he was actually safe or not, there was no video review in 2007 and the game was over. The Padres were sent home and their fans had to wait another 13 years before playoff baseball resumed in San Diego, while the Rockies were gearing up for their first playoff berth in 12 years, where they're going to sweep the Phillies and Diamondbacks on their way to their first ever World Series in a stretch of time known as Rocktober in Colorado. And it's crazy to think that this would have never happened if it weren't for their incredible comeback victory over the Padres in arguably the greatest Game 163 in MLB history. That wraps it up for this video. Let me know your favorite part of the Rockies Padres Classic in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.